ever. Yes, we're being recorded. Okay, so I like to start my interview with the most unusual question ever, which is if there was a song that was like a theme song to Catherine's life, what song would that be?
Well, I don't just have one, okay?
Okay, of course.
I have three. So they're all like for different reasons. So number one, Girl on Fire is one of my
Yep.
favorites. I play that whenever I drive to an appointment or before I have a meeting. Like I just played it before we started our meeting. Because it
Oh, okay.
pumps me up and it has also great lyrics. If you listen to it, there's also a lot of sadness in it. And then I love I Hope You Dance. Uh, a lot of you might know it. It's like a very country style and slow. I love it because it keeps me grounded and it reminds me to be grateful every single day. And then I also love Wear Sunscreen, which is not really a song, but it's more like a poem. But I really like that as well. It keeps me grounded. And I've had those songs for a long time before Girl on Fire even came out.
Did you say wearing sunscreen?
Wear Sunscreen.
It has nothing to do with Miami, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it's basically, it's a poem about life and advice on life. And it all comes down to really, you can't give people advice besides wearing sunscreen because that's the only thing that is an advice that, is there no matter what. But all the other
Yeah.
advices really depend on you and your situation.
Awesome. So I actually, if you're okay with it, I'd like you to just kind of introduce yourself to our audience. So we're streaming live in 7 different Facebook groups, and
Oh my
and
God.
we record. Yeah, we've got about 1,300 agents in our organization, and we're excited to share your story. We're highlighting you for our special guest in the month of June here. So
Oh,
uh,
and that's perfect because June is my birthday month.
there you go. So, uh, do me a favor, just kind of introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you, your business, and some of your accolades, so we kind of set the stage for the conversation.
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad you made it. My name is Kathrin Rein. I'm an agent in Miami, Florida, and I've been in the business for almost 10 years, 9 years, almost 10. I am a solo agent, so I don't have any other agents under me. I recently became an MREA, a millionaire real estate agent. I did the last 12 months about 1.3 million in GCI. And that was actually the goal that I always had. I also was in 2019 and 2018 the number one solo agent in whole Florida for KW. And I recently, in the last quarter, was the number nine KW agent in the entire world, which is
Yeah.
my proudest accomplishment. I got into the real estate business not really knowing what I signed up for. A friend of mine kind of pushed me in that direction. I was a young mom. I was a stay-home mom with a baby, and I had to bring my baby along to all the showings in the beginning. It was really hard and really tough. And I thought I was not going to like this business. But after a few months, I realized this is totally what I was looking for. And I just fell into it by accident. And then year by year, I just got better and better. And here I am now. Last year, in 2020, I had 30 million in production. And I just really love what I'm doing. I used to be a stand-up comedian before I was in real estate. So
Yeah.
I was on stages in LA at the stand-up comedies, the Comedy Store, and what's the other one? The LA Improv. And I did tons of TV shows, commercials in Germany and in the United States. And I loved it, and I still
Yeah.
love it. I like to be funny, as Brett knows
Yeah.
this
You
morning.
you played broke on me this morning. I'm the punchline.
This morning he called me to reconfirm, and I pretended like I didn't know what he was talking about. He had a heart attack. So I love that. I love to make people smile, and I really think that I brought a lot from my past into my current real estate life. And I came to the U.S. as a nanny. I was an au pair. I came with $700. I didn't have anything to my name, didn't know any people, didn't know anything about business. I was just this actress that came from Germany, and now I run a multi-million dollar business and own 9 properties of my own.
Awesome. So what part of Germany?
I'm from Bavaria, from the south, which
Okay.
the rest of Germany always thinks Bavaria thinks they're special, and the truth is they are.
Yeah.
Because we have amazing culture and we really have amazing landscapes. We have amazing mountains, and it's just beautiful there.
Awesome. So when did you come to the States?
I came to the States in 2000 and well, the first time 2002 when I graduated from high school. So guys, don't do the math right now,
Yeah.
but I graduated high school in 2002, and then I came with my sister visiting, and I knew I always wanted to live in America. And then in 2005, I saw an ad to be a summer nanny in the United States, and my stepdad said to me, "Why don't you apply? Why don't you apply? You never know what comes out of it." And I never left after that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So you said your friend pushed you into real estate. Tell me
Yes.
about that story real quick.
So my friend Fred, he was a real estate agent. He was actually my real estate agent when I was renting. And he kept saying to me, "Kathrin, you're so smart and so fast. Why don't you try real estate?" And I said to him, "Real estate?" Because in Germany, the real estate profession is really like not very respected. You're considered a shark, and it's more like a used car salesman mentality. I figured out later it's similar to here. and and I just signed up. It took me like almost after I passed the test, I think it took me like 8 months to finally hang my license. And he happened to be with KW, and he's like, "Why don't you interview with my office?" And I interviewed, and they said, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." And I'm like, "Oh my God, they want to have me." Okay. So I signed on, and here I am.
Okay. So you get licensed right out the gates. You were successful, or what'd you do?
No, no. Actually, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I I had one good deal right away because I went out to a model party with my husband. My husband was a fashion model. I did some modeling on the sides beside my acting. And I went to this model party, and I met this guy on the dance floor that told me he wants to buy 3 apartments for his kids. But first he asked me, "What do you do?" And I could have said, "I'm a model," but I said, "I'm a real estate agent." He's like, "Really? I'm looking to buy 3 apartments for my kids." And a week later, I sold him 3 apartments for $1.6 million, 6% commission. It was really awesome. But that one was the only deal I had in that year. And then there was really nothing else besides a few rentals. And I had a few clients that were looking with me, but then they cheated on me. And it was like a nightmare. I think I cried. I was just talking to my partner agent right now before this interview. I think I cried almost every day the first year. It was just a nightmare, an emotional roller coaster of up and down. And I thought, I can't do this forever.
Yeah.
It was really
I think
hard.
it's good to hear that in your story, because a lot of times when we look at somebody like yourself that's successful, we automatically think, oh, they must have been the rookie of the year and were successful from day one. And I think sometimes the struggle helps us become who we are sometimes, right?
I've had a lot of struggles. It's never been easy. People always see Kathrin like speak on stages and stuff, and they think it was like I started like that. And there was a lot of struggles. I also think that I have become a completely different person. Like I used to be this girl that was very innocent and naive. I used to write poems, and I was like really like emotional. Now I'm like this total businesswoman, and I still have in me this emotional side, but I have to dig a little bit to find it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. So how did you power through those struggles and get to where you're at now?
I think that I just reminded myself to be strong, and I just kept on going. I kept myself busy with work, and where I didn't have the experience like other agents, I trumped with knowledge. So I always found a way to, even when I was new and friends or acquaintances started to work with me, I never wanted them to feel like I was the unexperienced agent. So I did research all night long on areas that I didn't know, and I just knew more than the other agents that were longer in the business than me. So I always knew I don't have the experience, but I can trump with knowledge. That's what I really focused on. And I worked really hard. My clients that bought with me in the past, so far, nobody has ever cheated on me. They stay with me because they just know I work really hard for them.
So work ethic would be a
Yes.
defining characteristic
Work
of it.
ethic would be number one. It has changed now a little bit, now that I've been in the business for almost 10 years. I don't see long hours as a virtue anymore. And Gary, I mean, Gary Keller's mastermind, he always reminds us that long hours are really not a virtue because it really just shows that you're not leveraged enough. But I feel when you start, you really need to show this work ethic and those long hours. And I showed those for like 9 years. And now I finally came to the point where I really need to have others do those things for me.
It took 9 years, but you're
Yes.
getting there, right?
I haven't been on vacation in 9 years. Last year, I took the first vacation.
So I got to ask the question because most people, if you live in Miami Beach, they think you live on vacation, right?
Yeah, I normally don't go to the beach more than once or twice a year, but now I have changed that a little bit.
Good for you. So I want to fast forward kind of to the end of our interview for a second.
Sure.
What if I'm an agent and I'm a successful agent, and I'm listening to your story and I'm listening to your interview? What are the nuggets or what are the secret sauce or the secrets to your success that I should be listening for as you're telling your story today?
I think that people are always focused on the quick success. I mean, if I personally had known it's going to take me that long and it's going to be that hard, I probably would have not started. But now that I'm already in it, I'm like, okay, too late.
Yeah.
We overestimate what we can achieve in, how does that go? That saying that
Okay.
Gary always
Put
says,
me on the spot. It's we
yeah,
underestimate what we can do in 5 years and overestimate what we can do in 1 year or something like that.
no, I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
We overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in five. No? Okay, one of those, you
We
guys get it.
understand it.
Okay.
We
You need to
understand it.
focus
Yes.
on the long run. I think that what I'm personally really good at is something that maybe other people are good at something else. So that people like listen to me speak on panels and on those interviews, and then they throw everything that's working for them overboard to just adapt what I do. You should never do that. You should just take like one nugget and adjust it a little bit in your business because everybody's different. I know I'm extremely sociable when it comes to my clients and I'm great in relationship building, but not everybody is that outgoing. And if you're not, then other things might be working for you. For example, me, I don't pound the phones, right? But there's people in my office that do that and they're highly successful. So whatever's working for me might not be working for you. So don't get just stuck on those things, because I used to go to all those panels at family reunion and mega camp. And when I come back, I would say to my assistant, okay, we're doing it all wrong. We need to do it different. And it just created this whole mess in my business. So what is working for me, okay, is I have really strong marketing, and I'm going to show you a few things. So this here is my little avatar. And I've been using this for 3 years and I've been seeing people copying it, but that's okay. That's a compliment for me. So I have a really strong marketing. This is on all my signs. This is on all my branding, and people know this avatar very strongly. Then, it's also on my key, on my closing key. It's a theme that goes through my marketing. So I have really, everybody that buys with me a house gets this key. It's a huge key.
Yep.
So my marketing is really strong. And then I think the other thing that I'm really good at is relationship building, not only with my clients, but with other agents. So I do have a lot of agents that I mastermind with. I think Katie Shunk is on this call. Her and I have been friends for a while. She just wrote me one day on Facebook, hey, I want to meet with you for lunch. I think it was mega camp or family reunion. Do you have like time to have a coffee with me? And I took the time and I met with her and we've become friends. So I think that relationship building, a lot of people see that wrong. They build relationships with others thinking of what they can gain. And I always think of what can I give?
Yeah.
And I think this is very important because people realize if you're only friends with them and nice to them because you want something. And I can see that right away. I can see through people right away if they are just out to get something. And I like to be surrounded by givers. So that's my mentality. Also, when I have a lot of vendors that I work with, and I have all their business cards in a little leather book. And I look every morning thinking, how can I add value to other people? So I always give first before I receive. And I don't give ever with the expectation of receiving, but I do receive.
Right.
Mhm.
So it sounds to me it's a very genuine part of who you are.
Yes.
Um, how did you adopt that, or was that just innately who you were, or did you go through a period of time where you're like, okay, I need to really adopt this principle in my life that I need to be a giver, and I need to surround myself with givers, because ultimately I want that to be a value I stand for, right? Was that just who you were? Did you
I
adopt that?
think that's just how I am. I don't think you can fake being a giver.
Yeah,
I think this is just something that I am, that I've been brought up with by my parents, to say thank you, to be grateful, and to give to people, also to give to people that are less fortunate, and to help others. So I think this is just a value that I've been brought up with. Sometimes I feel I'm a little bit too much of a giver and others are taking advantage, but that's okay. Karma works in mysterious ways.
of course, of course. So talk to me about marketing. So you've been in business for almost 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Um, and obviously marketing is an evolution that happens in business, and marketing seems to be one of your secret sauces, right?
Mhm.
In how your business comes to you. How did you evolve your brand? How did you go from being uh, somebody that was going to a party and saying I'm a real estate agent instead of a model, to actually having a marketing image and a marketing plan?
Because something else that came natural to me, because I used to be in an entertainment business, so I have a really good visual eye. Also, if you look at any of my listings, they're always impeccable. The pictures and everything looks always great, even if it's like a lower priced property. It just evolved over time. I always had the color of light blue turquoise, which I'm wearing today. My car is turquoise. I have a Miami blue Porsche Macan. And everything I do is just turquoise for, I would say, at least 7 years. And then I integrated that avatar. The reason I did my marketing this way is because I wanted to see, okay, what can I do to be different? And this is also a theme that goes throughout my life. I was always, since I'm little, a little bit different than the rest of the crowd. And I just want you to ask yourself the question, when you work with clients that are also interviewing other agents, what is it that makes you different than the other 50 agents in your farm area? Why would they want to work with you if you're just like the 50 other agents? Why? What makes you different? And it's not always about being better, it's about being different. And I realized that pretty quickly, that in real estate, people don't always work with the best agent. I mean, if everybody in New York City would be working with the best agent, they would all be working with Ryan Serhant, right?
Yeah.
But there's other agents out there. So me not having grown up in Miami, and I don't have a background of wealth. My parents never owned real estate. I didn't have expensive clothes, expensive shoes, expensive bags. How do I get access to the wealthy people? Some of them have bonds with people that they went to school with or that they grew up with in country clubs. And so those agents have a huge advantage over me because they've run in those circles since they're babies. So what can I do to break into this circle? So I need to be different. And that's how I looked at my marketing. And then it just kind of evolved into this avatar. And then I also have those little palm trees. That one I had since the beginning. And it's just evolved into that.
I want to make sure I point out a pretty big statement here. Is you said it's not that I have to be better. I learned I have to be different. And
Right.
one of the things that I think is an interesting thing that agents go through an evolution of their business is they always want to figure out a way to sell more expensive properties, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's more money in the higher priced properties. And you're right, not everybody has that access to wealth, but they sometimes have that desire. And what you realized in your journey was, in order to gain access to that wealth, the path was to be different, not better, right?
Correct. Correct. So,
That's
everybody
important at
always
the end.
tries to be
Yeah.
better. That's not what counts.
Okay. Can you develop that a little bit more for me? Because I hear what you're saying, but help me understand that principle more.
So I give you an example. I know that I'm really good on video. I know that I'm a likable person. So I just monetize that. Whenever I'm at properties, I do a very bubbly video so that the people that call me, they already know me. Some of them say, oh yeah, I wasn't sure if I can call at this time because I know you have kids. And I'm like, how do you know I have kids? So they've been stalking me on the internet. So I use that to my advantage, knowing that I'm good on video. I have an acting background and I do the videos very real and natural because I realize that people are no longer looking for those picture perfect videos. If they want that, they can go on the travel channel, right? But if they want to have somebody that's real, that looks at the properties through real people's eyes, they look at my videos. So
Yeah.
I use that to my advantage. If you are a person that is socially a little bit awkward, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but not everybody has those social skills. Let's say you don't like people, you don't like crowds, why don't you make like some you know videos, or call yourself the antisocial agent? Who cares? There is antisocial buyers and sellers. They would never work with me because they watch my videos and they get a headache just hearing me talk. They're like, okay, I could never work with someone like Kathrin. Then they might want to work with you. Or for example, let's say you have a lot of tattoos on you, call yourself the Atlanta tattooed agent, or you have a beard, call yourself the Atlanta agent with a beard. Whatever it is, like
Right.
whatever makes you unique, don't try to hide it, like try to use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Because we all have a niche, or even if you think it's something weird, it might work for you. I mean, I'm also a moderator on the Lab Code Agents site on Facebook, and Nick Baldwin, he has this weird beard and he uses it to his advantage. So, it works for him.
Use what you be different, right?
Yeah, and don't be afraid to be different, because
All right.
I have been told my entire life since I'm little that I need to blend in and that I need to, try to be normal. And for me, like over the last year, I really discovered like being different is actually a strength. If you are just normal, you're not brave enough to shine like your own colors.
Yeah.
Like make sure you shine bright to whatever it is and whoever you are.
Right. All right. I want to talk about one other thing. You're a solo agent.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super common to see or talk or speak with or interview a solo agent that's over that $1 million GCI mark, just because our industry has a love for big teams sometimes.
Yeah.
And we've taught leverage and all this stuff. So help me pull the curtain back on that.
Sure.
I think you're proud to be a solo agent,
Yes.
right? And I think your hope for a lot of people out there that are like, I don't want the team.
Yes.
But how can I be different and accepted and be a successful solo agent, right?
Yes. Okay. Well, this is actually one of my favorite subjects. So I've been going to all those conferences, and there's always people on stages and they talk about their great team that has a $200 million production, and then they have 40 agents on their team. And I'm just doing the math and I'm like, okay, each agent sold $5 million. So what did they do the rest of the year? Right. And for me, it was, okay, I have a lot of respect for them producing all those numbers. But at the same time, I feel like I accomplished like so much more being a solo agent and having such a high production. So it kind of, they never highlighted solo agents, and it kind of made me a little bit bitter, I have to admit, because I feel solo agents, they work so hard and not everybody wants to have a team. For example, right now, it might change. I don't want to have a team. I don't want to have the headache of hiring, and I get really attached to my people. And I had a team, and it was just really heartbreaking when they left, and not everybody wants to have a team. And I want other people to know that you can be successful as a solo agent, and you can produce in relationship even more than some of those top producing teams. So I wrote a letter to upper management at KW, and they started a Gary Keller solo agent mastermind. And now
Yeah.
I'm part of that. So I'm really proud of that. And I don't want to say it was because of me, but I think it was because of me. and there's like the top solo agents in there. We mastermind, we talk about things, how can we be higher in production without hiring other agents. And I think this is so important because I always felt like a loser despite my high production when I saw all those big teams producing so much and I only had like 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars of production. Whereas this is like amazing. And I'm pretty sure there's other agents out there that feel like they don't want to have a team, but how can I be successful as a solo agent? So
Right.
now, funny enough, some people of the other Gary Keller mastermind with the big teams come to me asking me for advice. I'm like, yay. So this is really cool. So the way I still call it team because I have admin help. So over the last year, I didn't even have an assistant. So this is when I had my highest production. I didn't have an admin. I have a girl in the Philippines that does all my marketing, all my Facebook ads, all my Instagram, all my Facebook, all my pretty designs. And make no mistake, I'm still not like a solo production, right? Without her, I couldn't do all of that. She does all my videos. She does all the editing. She's a big help. And I just brought on an agent partner, which is a new model that I invented. And this is basically something that I started last year in November. She was doing all my showings because I don't know how it is in Atlanta, but in Miami, especially on the listings 500,000 and above, whenever I show a listing, I have to be present as the listing agent to explain everything, to open and lock the door, because agents in Miami, they leave the doors open, they don't put the keys back. It's like almost like, I'm trying to find people with a brain.
Yeah.
So I hired this girl. She was with my productivity coach, and I hired her to do the showings, and I paid her per showing. And then after 4 months, she was really good and she never complained and she was really reliable. And then I asked her if she would be interested in the partner agent position. So what I have now with her, she's on a salary and she's with me. It's a combination of a showing agent and a little bit of admin work. So basically she gets paid a bonus per closed sale, and she's on a salary, and she's probably going to make $100,000 this year.
Nice. That's a good opportunity, right?
Yes, she has a great opportunity. And the reason I hired her, yes, I did the career visioning, the KPA, but my number one values that I'm looking for in people is integrity, mindset, and work ethic, because they can have a fantastic KPA, they can be amazing producers, and they can have anything you want in the KPA, but if they don't have integrity, they're not a fit for me.
Got it. So it's part of the values of what you bring to the table and your clients expect, right? So
yes, absolutely.
DNA. So you said you've got a VA in the Philippines, or a virtual assistant, right? And this VA is like the marketing guru, does all the videos. You probably film it on your phone, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I always send her stuff. So what she's really good at, and this is for me very important, she knows how to catch. Because I'm very busy and I just throw stuff at her and she catches. So she's been with me almost 3 years. And at some point I tried to hire her husband, but he was not able to catch. Like he wouldn't get it, and I decide on this pretty quickly after a month or so. I know if people can catch or not, and she can. So the partner agent that I have now, she's really good in catching too. Gotcha. Because I don't have time to explain things all the time. And Gary gave me this advice on one of our masterminds where he said, you don't need to manage people. You need to have people that are self-managed. So if I have to explain you how to figure out the postage on an envelope, Google will be your best friend, or drive to the post office. But if you ask me, that's definitely a no.
Right. And I like your phrase catch, because I've always used the terminology, if the train's going 110 miles an hour, we can't slow the train on for you to get on, right?
No, you gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Glover, who I did some coaching with in the past. he he always says to his assistant when she asks something, he's like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you can figure it out.
Yep. I like it. So virtual assistant, hot topic. What's the secret sauce there? You've been with her, what, 3 years now?
3 years. So it was a lot of trial and error. Actually, my previous assistant that I had found her, and she said to me, I think this girl is pretty good. So we started with her 400 a month, 450, 500, 550. Now she's at 600 a month. I pay her direct. She's not through a third party company. You can hire those through other companies. Just know that they will never get more than 400 a month. So I figured I prefer to pay them directly a little bit more, and I pay her on performance. So now she's making much more than anybody that works around her. And right now she's buying a house in the Philippines, and I'm helping her finance it because I want to create wealth for her. So that is something that is very important to me as an organization, because this is one of the big values why I love real estate so much, is to create wealth for others, since I have created it now for me and my family. And if I'm in business with people, I want them to do the same. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you a quick story. The previous assistant that I had on my team that was actually in my office, she got at the end of the year a bonus from me, and she turned around and bought herself a Rolex. So that was a pretty big shocker to me, because she had told me she wanted to buy a house, and she just told me the house can wait. And I realized pretty quickly that was not the reason I let her go, but it played a little bit into it, because I really want to be surrounded by people that want to create wealth for themselves and that don't just, spend the money like crazy, because I don't own a Rolex. And I felt that she just was not focused on wealth building. And I was disappointed, because I feel she's surrounded by me. I teach her every day how wealth building works, and she just didn't pick anything from that up.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I don't think everybody would have that same perspective, that somebody that worked for them, they had almost like uh, a requirement that you understood wealth building and participated in wealth building to come work for me. And I think that's a pretty cool standard you put, because we're in the real estate industry, and it translates to your business and your clients too, right?
Yes, because if they don't understand wealth building, how are they gonna portray themselves among my clients? So, all my clients know that I own property, that I'm an investor as well, and they look up to me. They know that I know a lot about like renovations, about the building process, about, I can tell someone within like a minute, just doing math in my head, if something is a good investment or not. And they're always impressed by my knowledge, and I want the people on my team to know that too. And if I do a flip anywhere in Miami, I always give them an opportunity to invest as well, because
Yeah.
I want them to have a piece of the pie. I want them to be financially independent eventually. This is something that I learned while being with KW. I feel like I got a PhD in accounting, in investing, in marketing, in real estate, and all this kind of stuff. This was one of the first things I've learned when Linda McKissick was speaking on the conferences, and I was just totally inspired by the wealth building. And I'm like, wow. I mean, if you're in real estate and you don't invest yourself in real estate, you're missing out. You got to jump on the train. It's like such a beautiful tool. It's
Right.
like you need to have FU money, right? And I mean, I with my properties,
All right.
I actually own properties in Georgia. I own four properties in Sky Valley, Georgia, and
Okay.
I bought them within the last year. And I could already retire just on those properties. And I have 5 others, but it's so beautiful to create wealth through real estate.
Yep.
So
Sky Valley, Georgia. All right.
it's the most beautiful place in the world. I
I
love
love
it there.
All right, so talk to me about the structure of your business. So I want to get practical for a
Sure.
minute. Um, if you kind of understand the models of the millionaire real estate agent, like what's your lead generation model? I'm understanding that you're a relationship-based agent. You probably have a really strong database, and that's where the majority of your business comes from,
Mhm.
with the parlayed with a great marketing plan on top of it,
Yes.
right?
So what we look at every month is the 4 conversations. Okay. We look at how many appointments did I go on, how many listings did I take, how many closings did I have, and what's my GCI. And if we fall behind in any of those 4 conversations, then we need to see why. For example, last month I had a lot of closings, but my GCI was only 38% of where it should have been. So I realized, okay, my price point has not been high enough. I need to focus on more higher priced listings. And at the same time, I love those little listings because they pay the bills and they sell quickly right now, especially in this market. So we focus on that. I feel sometimes simplicity is really important because if you get too torn up in numbers, it just distracts you. I mean, at least me, because I'm a high D, I'm like, I look at the numbers. I have a profit and loss statement every month that I look over. And so far, if we are closing out June with what we have right now in the books, I'm a little bit ahead of the game, but at the same time, I'm worried because I don't have a lot pending for July and August. So I'm always overly worried, which drives me into more production. And I think December each year, I have almost a nervous breakdown thinking my next year is not going to be as good as the year before. I have that every year, but that drives me into being productive. And I've actually heard Barbara Corcoran says, the most successful salespeople are the most insecure people, and they cry December of each year that they are not going to produce the next year the same. And I'm like, okay, that's me.
Good.
So we do that, and then lead generation is with us very organically. Our past clients, we are in relationship with them throughout the year. We try to do 4 times a year a little gift. Right now we're working on beach balls that are branded with my avatar and the slogan, make it rain, rain being my last name with R-E-I-N. Okay,
Yeah.
get it? Make it rain.
I got you.
And it's it's not on my thing. Oh, but it's on this key here. Make it rain. Okay. This is now on all of my signs, make it rain. And for Christmas, we do a reindeer video. Get it? Like I'm trying to play with my name. So it's all very organic because we do 4 times a year. We reach out to them with gifts. Then I'm going to be in the new luxury magazine. I have an article that I got like MREA status. I sent it to all of my clients. I try to be in touch with them. So I get a lot of referrals, repeat customers. I do get a lot of referrals from other agents. I'm working right now actually with like 5 or 6 referrals from Atlanta agents. Thank you. And then when the leads come in, I have either my partner agent or me reach out to them depending on who's available. So we just switched our phone systems because I think one of the biggest things that I had an issue with was the phone calls. I was getting 100 phone calls a day. And it was just too much to handle for someone. You know, I'm on panels. I sit on a lot of panels like today, and then I can't answer the phone calls. And I would lose a lot of business, would fall through the cracks while I was not able to answer those calls. And when I called them back, they were already working with another agent and so on. So what I now developed is, okay, on the MLS goes a different number, which routes to my partner agent, because I don't want to be called by Miami agents. The showing instructions on the MLS are very clear. Put a showing request. If you have questions, please email. And they will call me asking for showing instructions. And it was very disruptive to my day. And it was to that point, my husband was standing next to me and he's like, you're not being very friendly. I'm like, babe, they are like asking me questions. It's all on the MLS. So I was like, okay, I cannot sound unfriendly to other agents. I don't want to have that image. Let me have someone else take care of those calls. So the only calls that I'm now getting is from the signs and from my advertising. So I know everybody that calls me is either a client that doesn't have an agent or someone that wants to sell their house. So that has become very important. And I just figured that out. So I'm very proud of myself. I just figured it out.
I think that's a pretty cool perspective because you're right. At some point in time, what you did is you removed the 80% phone calls and rerouted the 20% phone
Correct.
calls.
They're the important ones.
Yeah. And it takes a little bit of ego check to realize, hey, I don't need to answer all those phone calls.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And Amaryllis is great. She does it great. And then she tells me, hey, this and this person called, this and this person called. I'm like, okay. Yeah. You know, she said, oh, an offer is coming. This is happening. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. I want to ask you some your market specific questions, and some of them relate to our
Sure.
market as well. Um, my perception outside looking in
Hmm.
is Miami Beach in Miami is a market that's very volatile around the economy and things like that. Or is it not? Meaning, does it shift quite often?
Yeah, I mean, how, what do you define quite often?
Well, I'm saying, uh, does Miami go through market shifts quite often?
I wouldn't consider quite often. I mean, it's just like every real estate cycle, that Miami goes up and down. I think that Miami has been undervalued for a very long time because we have beautiful properties on the water that are so low in price compared to LA, Chicago, New
Right.
York, and other metropolis. So I think that for those people coming from the north or from California, Miami is still very affordable. So I think finally Miami has had a comeback thanks to the virus. I have to say it was a blessing for us. Also, we had our political, I don't want to get into politics, but we had a very open mind with our politics, and it has played out very well for Miami because a lot of people from the north and from California, Seattle, they came here because they were just tired of the mask mandates and their lockdowns. So I think that has played a very favorable role into the real estate in Miami. And but I think it was long due. It would have been like that anyway, but it would have taken a little bit longer. So I
Right.
don't think the market is very volatile. But for example, I just sold a condo for $1 million in January. Now I could sell it for 1.3. So bad timing for my
That,
seller, but it has really, this pandemic has really helped Miami real estate. So
right.
volatile, I don't
Maybe the
think
right
it's
word is
very
maybe
volatile.
the right word is progressive. Miami strikes me as a progressive market. And I guess my real question here is not around the market. It's how do you stay ahead of the market? How do you, as a professional, stay ahead of a market that seems to be, it changes quite often?
So let me try to answer your question. I don't know if I answered it the right way. So you mean like how do I tell my sellers how to price the property correctly?
Let me back up for 1 second. We talk a lot about being a skills based agent, meaning having the skills to consult around where the market's going,
Okay.
the skills of saying, hey, having tough conversations around where the market's
Okay.
been, things like
Yes.
that. My
Okay.
my perception outside looking in is uh, most markets are requiring a skills based agent right
Mhm.
now, but I would think Miami outside looking in is a little more progressive than most.
So the thing that I have really become a master in over the last year is to pre-qualify people and turn people down because I really realized that my most valuable asset is time. I have two children, so I rather lay on the lounge chair by my pool, watch them play, than showing an unqualified person real estate. So what we have been doing is qualify people stronger.
Right.
So I do all my consultations on Zoom, all buyer and seller consultations. I don't even set foot on somebody's property until they have agreed to work with me and sign a listing agreement with no price on the listing agreement. So I think that to answer your question, I think it's important to set the expectation with people, expectation on the markets, and expectation on working with me because I don't just work with anyone. I work with people that are highly motivated, people that are kind, and people that appreciate working with me. So I no longer work with jerks. In the past, I might have taken it because I wanted the money, but now I rather lay on the lounge chair and watch my children play in the pool. So that has really helped me to narrow down to the most important clients. So now I no longer cry when a deal falls apart because I know it was not because of my fault. So everybody gets pre-qualified and we set the expectations really, really strong. So with the buyers, we make sure they have a good down payment. They are willing to overpay. They are willing to waive appraisal contingency, maybe financing contingency, and that they are aware that they can't get a deal in this market. The deal is getting the house. And
Yeah.
if they are looking for a deal and want to offer 20% below list price, I know that in the consultation, and then I decide not to work with them. With sellers, I set the expectation that yes, we can get a great price on the house depending if it's single family or condo. And I don't price based on past sales. I price based on what's available in the market. And that way, I think a little bit different than other agents. So I went on a listing consultation. All agents told them 2.5, and I told them 3.2. Unfortunately, they decided to list with an agent that did it for 4%. So nothing I can change about that. But he used my price 3.2 and went pending in 7 days.
Yeah.
So I'm really good on watching the markets. And at the same time, when people ask me what the market is doing, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. I can only go with how the market is now. And we just have to watch the interest rates every day, because I think it really depends also on the interest rates and the buying power of the buyers on how the market is going to evolve.
Yep.
Did that answer
So
your question a little
you
bit?
answered it perfectly. You know, my question was really, how are you purposeful about being a skills-based agent inside of a progressive real estate market?
Yeah.
And you were very pointed in your answer. Next question would be, you're in a market, and Atlanta's actually very much similar market. We've got a lot of vertical living in addition to single family. How do you balance the blend there, or do you?
So hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the question.
Yeah. So I had a conversation with you, I think it was 2 years ago in Austin. And I made a comment to you. I said, hey, I noticed you sell a lot of condos. And you said, I don't only sell condos, Brett. I also sell houses. And, but I had made that observation. And I think, I'm in your perception, you have a good balanced business from vertical and single family, right?
Yes.
And I think it probably works to your advantage as the market trends move around, right?
Yes. I mean, we have both. I always preferred single family because it's a little bit easier to navigate. But now the condos are on fire too. Everything right now in Miami is selling. So I'm like, I'm happy with anything. And we do have a lot of buyers from outside of Miami that prefer to have a condo living. And some of them start wanting a single family home, and then I have the consultation with them, my thorough buyer's consultation, which takes an hour. And then we actually discover that what they really want is a condo, because they don't want to do yard work. They don't want to have a pool person come every week. And sometimes when you listen to people and ask the right question, you discover actually they want something else than what they originally thought. And I think that's why it's so important to do this consultation, because people, they don't always know what they want until they speak with you and you ask the right questions. I'm always like blown away by agents that bring buyers to my listings and they meet them there at the property for the first time and they haven't had a thorough consultation. They don't even know if they're pre-approved. They don't even know if they're paying cash or financing. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them. Everybody that works with us, they must be pre-approved or show proof of funds. They are exclusively on a buyer's agreement. I don't work with anyone that's not on a buyer's agreement. The buyer's agreement shows that you're getting 3%. So if the other agent only pays 2 or 2.5%, they have to pay me the difference. I have a smart way of putting it into a contract so it doesn't come out of pocket for my buyers. But I don't work with anyone unless they're motivated and have signed an agreement, because my time is too valuable and your time should be too valuable for that too.
Yeah, I think the buyer consultation's a little bit of a lost art in our industry that's coming back.
I hope so. I mean, yeah. I have really high standards on that.
But I think it shows and it speaks very clearly about the professionalism you bring to your business, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I have clients that tell me, you know, my friends are buying a house and they are working with an agent that never explained any of that. And they call us for advice. And I'm like, well, maybe next time have them call me.
Yeah, right.
So, my clients are very well prepared. They know every step of the way. And then I also do videos every step of the way that I send them. And I make sure they watch it so that they're
Yeah.
prepared.
So your business is a relationship-based business, and you parlay it with great marketing, right?
Right.
How do you scale it?
Well, my partner agent right now, she's helping me. She's doing all the showings. She's doing all the things that are just too time consuming for me. Right now, she's not in the office. She's going to a property, meeting the photographer, taking a little video of the property so we can do soft social media advertising. In the afternoon, she's doing another photo shoot. She's doing a few showings. We got an offer in this morning. She assigned all the signatures on dot loop, sent it out to the seller, and she's meeting an appliance repair person at the property. I mean, those were all things that I have done in the past, and now I'm just sometimes sitting in the office and
Doing
wondering,
interviews.
doing interviews, and I'm like, and now I'm actually proud of this. In the beginning, it was really hard for me because I was used to working all the time. And what do you do when you have unexpected time off? How do you enjoy your life? I had to learn to enjoy my time off, but I think I'm getting there step by step.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually proud of all the time that I have in my hands.
Yeah. So that takes me into work-life balance. I know you have a hard drive and work ethic that was instilled by your parents, right?
Mhm.
And I would guess, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would guess that work-life balance has been a journey for you
Yeah.
getting into real estate. Talk to me about that journey and where you're at now.
So I basically didn't have it. So, but if you read the one thing, it clearly states that it doesn't exist. You just get out of balance in one sector of your life, and then you just have to try to regain a little bit of balance. The imbalance is actually healthy, and but it was a little bit too much work, and I was missing all the milestones of my children. I never had a nanny ever, so I'm very proud of that. My husband just, quit his job, and he's taking care of all of our investments and does everything with the children. But I feel like it's not fair. He gets all those milestones and I miss out on them. And that's why I hired No Leverage, because I was thinking, okay, if I make over $1 million in GCI and I have a partner agent that makes $100,000, that's really not taking
Right.
too much of my income away. And it's giving me a lot of more time back. I'm very German. I grew up very German with like hardworking parents, and was like a virtue to be hardworking and to work and to work and to work. I mean, my mother, she was a secretary, and she made like $8,000 or $9,000 a year. So I sometimes get now commission checks, and I'm thinking, wow, I made in one day what my mother would have made in 20 years. I mean, that sometimes makes me cry just because it's not fair. And that fills me with gratitude because my parents worked really hard. And I just don't want to end up where they ended up, because we rented one of the biggest lessons in my life, actually. And this is why I heavily invest everything that I have extra in real estate is my parents never had a work-life balance, and they just always worked. And we moved into a house when I was 3 years old, and then we moved out when I was 18. So we rented that house for 15 years. So if you do the math, we basically paid that guy's house off with the rent. And while we lived in there, it tripled in value. And when we moved out with nothing. And that moment when I was 18, and we moved out of the house and we had nothing, I realized how stupid I was. And at that moment I said to myself, I never want to end up like this for my children. And then when I was how old was I was like 23 or 24. My dad passed away in an accident, 22 actually. My dad passed away suddenly in an accident, and my dad was an engineer. He had always worked hard in his life. He never went on vacation ever. He never stepped foot on a plane, but he had a happy life. He appreciated the small things, but he never had like a big life. And he died and he left us with nothing. I got $800 when my dad passed. And this was another learning lesson for me. So now I have a $5 million life insurance should something happen to me, because I would never want to have my children be in the same position that I was left in it, in my beginning 20s. I lost my father, was really sad, and had nothing. So work-life balance is important. And as I said earlier, long hours are not a virtue, but in the beginning, you have to put in the work. And
Yeah.
I personally am tired of hiring people that I have to teach you can't have a life if you want to make a lot of money in the beginning. So everybody that works with me, they need to have a work ethic. And I tell them up front that they have to work hard so that I can have a better life, at least in the beginning. And then I help them leverage their tasks, and they need to be okay with that. And they also need to be okay with me making a lot of money.
Yeah. Um, if you were going to give us advice or something that you would want us to take away from your story, there's a couple comments of people just saying thank you and gratitude for sharing that personal story in the chat, and I'm sure there's lots more on Facebook. My question is really, what should we learn? What's our nugget? What should we know from Kathrin that I should ponder and put in my head today and reflect on? What's that advice you would give me?
Feels so much.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things, um, I mean, we talked about being different. I think this is very important, that you have to be different and own it. And then the other thing that I think is very important is you have to get back up after you've been hit. And in my life, I've been hit so many times, and I was on the ground, on the floor, and didn't know how to get back up, but I made it. I made it back up, because I think the most successful people in life are not the people that are the best cold callers, the best salespeople, the people that know the most people, but the people that get hits and find a way to get back up and continue their success. I think that's a skill that I personally had to learn. I think that starting in real estate, I was really not the strongest person. I cried a lot. It was really hard for me. I mean, let's face it, this is not an easy business. And I think that personality wise, I was really not a good fit for this business, but I persevered and I hung in there, and it worked for me. And thankfully, I've gotten tougher, and I was able to take hits, and I'm still getting hits. But that was one of the things that I had to learn and that I've became better in. I haven't mastered it yet, but
Perfect.
that's that's
Well, I
my
just got to
advice.
throw some gratitude to you for sharing your story today. I've got a whole page of notes. I know everybody else got amazing value from you today. And I just want to give you an opportunity because I think there's going to be a lot of agents that might have opportunities to send you some business. So, what's the best way to stay in touch with you if we have referrals going down to Miami? Um,
Awesome.
yeah,
So I mean, my website is beautifulmiami.com. Very easy.
yeah,
Find me on Instagram. It's Beautiful Miami Team. Kathrin Rein. You can also write me on Facebook. I'm also on Lab Code Agents. You can reach out to me anytime with questions, comments, or concerns. I'm always happy to answer. I also do once a month a Q&A with Ask Me Anything, where I have different agents join in, even clients, to ask me questions about real estate and investing. And just don't feel shy to reach out. Like I said before, Katie reached out to me a few years ago. We've become friends. I always love to help others and connect with other agents and mastermind, lift them up, or
yeah,
share information.
to be a giver.
Yes, to be a giver. I
All
love
right.
to be a giver.
My last question, where's your vacation going to be?
Sky Valley, Georgia.
Okay.
That's, I mean, if you guys haven't been, I have 4 vacation homes in that area. There on Facebook, I have a page. It's called Book My Sky Valley Homes, and it's a magical place. It's a public golf course community, and they have a pool, a gym, a jacuzzi. There's so many things to do for children, and it's just nature. And I love nature and disconnecting, and it's just my happy place.
There you go. Kathrin, thank you for your time today. I got one
You're very
last
welcome.
thing, one last thing for you.
Mhm.
She's just a girl and she's on fire.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in.
All right,
She's
bye-bye.
living in a
Have a great
world and
day.
it's on
You too.
fire. Filled with catastrophe, but she knows she can fly away.